Hey, what's up boxers? This is Zack Griset with Buildbox. In this video we are going to create a simple game where we have a cube going down a path, jumping over spikes, and collecting coins. So let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to double click on the default template up here in the upper left hand corner. This will open up the template and take you to the game mind map. Go ahead and double click on your 3D world here, and that will take you into the 3D world scene editor. And right now we're going to go ahead and just delete the ground and cube objects from our objects library by clicking this little X here, and then it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to delete this item? And then I'm going to click yes, or you can hit Y on your keyboard and that will also work. So I'm going to exit out of this cube as well and delete it. And then right now we're starting off with a blank slate. Real quick, I just want to show you, this is your scene right here. This is the start of your scene and the end of your scene. The start of your scene has a little cube shape right here, and then the end of your scene has this little pyramidal object right here, and it kind of gives you some direction and you can tell which way the scene is headed. So first off, we're going to go ahead and give our game some ground. So I'm going to go up here to my asset library, and I'm going to double click on a cube, and that is going to be my ground. And then I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to double click on the cube again, so that is going to be my character. I'm going to have a character be my cube, and then let's go ahead and also add in a cone. That's what we're going to use for a spike enemy. So I'm going to get out of my asset library again by clicking out of there, and I'm going to take one of the cubes and I'm going to just drag it up into the characters menu, and it's automatically going to become an actor. And this is what we're going to use for our main character. So first off, I'm going to select this cube over here in the objects menu, and I'm going to rename it ground. And this is what we'll use for the ground. I'm also going to select the collision group platform. And we'll go ahead and we'll go over that more later, but basically what we want to do is we want the character to register that it's landing on a platform whenever it's landing on this ground here. So let's go ahead, let's drag our ground out into our scene, and then I'm going to hold spacebar, my spacebar down. You can see my little icon, my little mouse icon has changed to a little glove, and then I'm going to right click, and this allows me to rotate around and look in my scene. So what I want to do is I want to take this block and move it right under the grid, and then I'm going to use this multi-tool here to stretch out the block a little bit past the end of the scene and a little bit past the start of the scene. And then I'll probably lift this up a little bit as well so it doesn't need to be so thick. Okay, great. And then I'm going to stretch out the sides using the scale tool so it stretches it out evenly on both sides. Great. And we're going to use that as the ground. So let's go ahead and give it some ground color. So I'm going to select the ground over here on the left. A menu is going to open up over here on the right. And I'm going to select color. And then I'm going to just do a kind of a nice muted green to kind of start off with. A little darker, something real muted. Okay, cool. So that'll work for me. And then I'm going to also take this actor and I'm going to drop it into my scene as well. I'm going to change the scale of this actor, this character, to 0.5 in the X, Y, and Z direction. And then I'm going to raise it up by 0.5 in the Y so that it's landing nice and flat on the ground. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and give this actor, or give this character, some color as well. So I will click on the character over here on the left. I will select the color on the right, and then I might go with something like a purple. A nice muted purple looks good. Okay, cool. So I'm happy with that. So right now, we don't have a lot going on. Let's go ahead and give the ground and the character some physics. So I'm going to select my actor over here on the left. And one other thing I'm going to do real quickly is I'm going to change the collision group to character as well. So we change the ground to platform, and we're going to have the actor be a character collision group. Okay, so let's go ahead and double click on our actor, and this will take you into the actor's node map. I'm going to select my start node over here, and then a menu is going to open up over here on the right, and I'm going to select physics, and I'm going to make sure that the physics type is dynamic. So that means that the character is going to adhere to the laws of gravity, and it's going to look and act very naturally in this virtual world. Now, for the ground, we don't want it to adhere to the laws of gravity. We want it to be stationary. So I'm going to go back to my 3D world. I'm going to go into my grounds node map by double clicking on it. And this time, when I select the start node and I select physics, I'm going to change the type to static instead. Now static means it's going to just be completely stationary. It's not going to move at all. So, but it does have a physics shape, and it has a collision shape to it now. So I'm going to select my 3D world, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to save my game real quickly. So I'll go ahead and save it and call it Cube Game Example. Perfect. I'll go ahead and save it to my downloads folder. Okay. Now, right now, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to be sitting right on the ground and not doing a whole lot. Let's exit out of the preview, press play, and you can see now that the character is just sitting on the platform. Okay, that works for us. I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this a little bit so you can see. Okay, cool. So there's our preview window. Now I'm gonna exit out of the preview window. Now let's go ahead and give this character some movement. So I'm gonna go into my actor's node map, and I'm going to go over here to my movement tab, and I'm going to drag out a move node. I'm going to hook up my move node, and I'm going to change the speed to -5 in the Z direction. And you'll see right now when I do that, you can see what happens, and the cube just goes falling off the platform, and it keeps going straight ahead on till infinity. So that's not exactly what we want. We're getting closer, but I'm going to exit out of the preview. And one thing I want you to note is there is a difference between using 0 and having a blank space in for the X, Y, and Z boxes. So real quick, I want to show you what it looks like when you have nothing in for those boxes instead. Instead of it just going straight on into infinity, it's actually going to fall off the platform right now. When you have it set to 0 in the X and Y, it is not going to fall down. It's just going to keep going straight. It's going to stay 0. It's not going to be moving up, and it's not going to be moving side to side, and it's just going to be going on forever. But now that we have it blank, it just falls right off the edge, and it's much more natural, which is what we want. So I'm going to exit out of this preview, and then now let's go back to our 3D world, and let's go ahead and add in another scene because it just falls off this platform and it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm going to select my scene over here on the bottom left, and I'm going to hit D on my keyboard to duplicate the scene. I'm going to go ahead and rename it 1 just to number it, and then I want you to notice that both the start scene and the first scene are the exact same, which means we have 2 characters, which is not what we want. Let's go ahead and preview that and see what happens when you have 2 characters going. Okay, it's actually looking pretty cool. However, that's not what we want for this game. So we're going to delete the character from the second scene by just selecting it and hitting delete on your keyboard. Okay, now we can go ahead and press play, and we should just have one character moving down the path, and it's going on and on forever and ever. But one thing that's happening is the camera is not following the character. Eventually, the character is going to exit the preview window, and you won't be able to see it anymore, just like that. So I'm going to exit out of the preview window, and I'm going to select my camera in here in my scene, and I'm going to change the position follow to character instead. Now when we press the preview, it's going to almost look like the character isn't moving anymore. It's going to just be stuck right here because the camera is now following with it. So let's exit out of our preview and let's bring in a cone into this scene, and then this is going to be a stationary object, and so now we'll be able to tell that the character is moving. So I'll press play real quick, and you should see the character go right through these spikes, but at least now we can tell that the character is moving forward. So we're going to exit out of the preview, and we're going to give this cone some physics so that the character can actually run into this cone. I'm going to double click on my cone, I'm going to select the start node, and I'm going to change the physics type to static, just like I did for the ground. And so now it's not going to be moving at all. So I'll go back into my 3D world. I'm also going to select my spike character here, and I'm going to rename it Spike Enemy. And I'm also going to give it a collision group of enemy as well. Okay, perfect. And then let's go ahead and give it sort of a different color, and this will be sort of the enemy color. We'll have it be red. Okay, perfect. So now we've got a red spike here, and when we press play, it should run right into the spike, and that's great. Now you'll notice that the character is also slightly moving to the left as it's jamming and moving into the spike over and over again. And we can actually prevent that with Buildbox, and it's very easy. So I'm going to exit out of the preview. I'm going to double click on my actor's node map, and I'm going to select my start node. I'm going to change the position factor over here in the bottom right hand corner. I'm going to change it to X. I'm going to change it to 0 in the X. I'm going to change it to 0 in the Y because we don't actually, or I'm going to actually keep it as 1 in the Y because we do want it going up and down, but we don't want it moving side to side. And we also don't want it rotating any direction either, so we're going to keep it 0 across all the rotation factor coordinates. So that's cool. Now we've got that working, so let's go ahead and make it now so that when the character runs into the spike, the character is defeated. So I'm going to minimize the movement tab, and I'm going to open up the actions tab. I'm going to bring out an if collide, and I'm going to say that if we collide with an enemy, then we want to have the character be defeated. So I'm going to grab a defeat node, I'm going to drag it out here, and then we're going to make it so that it's defeating the character. I'm going to go ahead and end part 1 of this video series here, but keep an eye out for part 2.